It is my pleasure to tell you that I have to work on Tuesday morning, and so I'm not going to give my speech, but to instead present to you our camp director, Rabbi Ron Klotz.
Okay, I won't leave. Mark, I need another assistant director. I want to give you my impression of Ron Klotz in 1975. Can't see anything through them. Oh my God, what a night. Thank you all for coming. It's overwhelming. So many... I don't get spoiled this year. Okay. Let's hear it for Sugar Klotz. So it's getting late, so I think if I could ask the planners, maybe we won't do Hamdallah, we'll just end with a song that Danny Lee wrote, okay? As it's getting late, I got a few things I want to say, but I'm going to say them very quickly. First of all, where's Chase? Chase, are you still here? Chase, stand up. This is Chase Foster, staff member of Goldman Camp for many years, and I want to tell you that I'm not going to drop the F-bomb tonight, Chase. I'm not too disappointed, but my son Michael already did that, so we're okay. So did Susan, yes.
I didn't know she knew that word.
I knew she knew that word. I've heard it many times, usually directed at me. Ilana, Sandy, Sanford, Susan, Lee, Ian, thank you so much for your work tonight, for organizing this, and putting this on. Great job. Wouldn't have been anything without you guys. And I want to thank Rabbi Yaffe and Paul for coming here. Juka, I know that I spent many weeks on the road in our lives. As a matter of fact, you really raised Jeremy and Michael because I was like gone all the time, either going to Kansas City or going to Cleveland or to a nifty convention or a biennial or a staff meeting or whatever. And if you're upset about that, talk to these fellows over here. These are the guys that sent me, okay? That's the Portuguese F-bomb. Okay. You know, I worked at camp for 37 years. I had two bosses. I had Smitty and Paul. I had two presidents, Rabbi Schindler and Rabbi Yaffe. So that's really a kind of a stable environment to work in. It has been an incredible environment to work in. And I want to tell you that I worked with some incredible people. I mean, you saw them up here tonight, but there's some that you didn't see tonight. I want to tell you two stories. First of all, we have Joint Camp Authority, that's our camp board, and we have had many great chair people over the years. David Barrett told us about his Uncle Art, who was the chair with Jack Miller when I was hired. And Sandy's the chair, and Karen Schwartz is somewhere in the back as chair. Lou Cantor was chair. Who have I missed? Jerry Litwack. Well, I want to talk about Jerry Litwack. I didn't miss Jerry Litwack. One of the stories I want to tell is about Jerry Litwack. You know, you meet people who do things which show you how dedicated they are, and they give you a sense of, I can't think of the word. In 1976, my second year as camp director, Jerry Litwack was the chair of our committee, came to me, and his kids were campers and staff members in camp. He didn't know me really from Adam, but he knew about GUCI, and he knew what GUCI meant and what it had done for his kids and the spirit of camp. And he came to me, and Jerry Litwack said, and this is the days, you know, in the early days of camp, we didn't have like 2 nickels to rub together. Susan and I spent many days worrying about whether or not we were going to be able to pay the electric bill at the end of our fiscal year. And if deposits from campers for the next summer camp started coming in, we wouldn't have been able to do it. That's how poor we were. Jerry came to me and he said, what can I do for this camp? This camp is important. And I said to Jerry, in order for camp to thrive in the future, we need a dining hall. We were eating in the old Beidan, you know, the roof leaked and we were packed in there. A few of us remember those days. That was in 1976. In 1977, we put the mezuzah up on the new dining hall of camp, which became now known as the Jerry Litwack Chadarochel. And the devotion that showed inspired me. That somebody, I mean, he was in the steel business. He wasn't a camp director. He just had kids at camp. But he said, what can I do? I gave him an idea. He went out and raised the money for that dining hall. We built the dining hall. And that was really the beginning of the modern era of camp. So Jerry Litwack, you were the man. I want to tell you about one other guy before I thank my special family people, and that is that around the same time, a fellow from Toledo came to me, and he said, you know, I was a staff member here in this camp the first summer, you know, that this camp existed as Union Camp Institute. I was right there. As a matter of fact, I came down with my rabbi and this fellow Ed Goldman when I was a youth grouper from Toledo to look at this place and to report to the union whether or not they should buy Big Eagle Camp. And their report was a good report. You know, there were no giants that were going to squish us. It was all milk and honey. And he said, you know, we have a brotherhood in Toledo, and we'd like to do something for camp, but we can't give you any money because we don't have any. So what can we do? So I said, well, why don't you all come down to camp in the spring and help us open camp? We could use help. You know, you bring the guys from the brotherhood down. We'll paint buildings, we'll move beds, we'll set up camp or whatever. And this weekend, we held the, I think, 35th Brotherhood Work Weekend at Goldman Union Camp. Now, before I thank the brothers, I want Bernie Solomon to stand up because he's the guy. He's always telling me what to do. We had a lot of brotherhood work weekends. We've done so much work in camp. We built all the decks and we painted all the buildings. I mean, every building in camp has benefited by the work of these fellows. So they come on Thursday, they stay through Sunday. We spend the whole Shabbat, not exactly the opposite of Shabbat, not resting, but working. We have a great time, we drink a little bit, we have a lot of fun, and we work a lot. So anybody in the room, not just you guys, but I want you guys too, but anybody in the room who has ever participated in a Brotherhood Work Weekend, I would like you to stand and be recognized. Please stand again. I want to say, no, this is my turn. You're not going to speak at all because I'm afraid of what you're going to say. Right, come on. It's going to be in English, Portuguese, or Hebrew.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm not very, I'm trying so hard. But you need to come here because camp hasn't been easy. But camp has been like a fantastic ride for my family and my kids. And all I can say is that I love this man. It's that such conviction and such love for his work. And I was happy to do whatever it took because it was my work. I was accused many times of like hating camp because I went out on the soup guy, which I promised I wouldn't tell the story.
So don't tell it.
No, I won't. But a lot of you remember, but I am really proud of you and your conviction and your love for your work and what you do. That's it.
I'll have you know that Judah worked hard writing that speech. I helped her.
Yes.
Let me say something about my sons. They're standing in the back there with drinks in their hands, which is not unlike them. These, I am so proud of these kids. They are each other's best friends. Jeremy, I want to tell you, Jeremy, you know, there was a point where Jeremy changed from just being a son, of course he's still a son, to being, you know, it happens, I think, in parents' lives, that when your kids get older, that the relationship stops, changes from you advising them to them advising you. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, we went to build a performing arts center at Goldman Union Camp. Because of Sanford and because of Karen Schwartz and Sandy and Jeremy and a lot of other great people, we were able to raise a lot of money to build this building. So Jeremy was the chairman of the chair of the building committee, and it was in August we went to negotiate the contract with R.L. Turner. Now it's August, you know, I've been at camp for 10 weeks or 11 weeks, it's hot, you know, it's Indiana, it's August. Those of you who have been with me at camp, you know that by the end of the summer, I mean, you know, it's not easy. I mean, Jeremy comes from Cincy, and we go to R.L. Turner's office to negotiate the contract. And we're talking about millions of dollars, and this makes my palms sweat even now. The building's already built. But anyway, so we go to the meeting, and they lay out all the money numbers and all the contracts, and the numbers are not what I thought they were going to be. And I started to get a little hot under the collar, right? And Jeremy stops the meeting, and he says to them, we have to make a phone call. Takes me into another room. We made no phone call. We sit down, and he says to me, Dad, don't worry about this. I'm going to take care of this. Don't get mad. When we go back in there, just sit there and let me handle it. And so we went back in the room, and Jeremy negotiated the contract, and now we have a $2.5 million performing arts center. I sat with my hands folded and listened to my son. I was the smart one at that time. Also, in this whole retirement thing, we've been thinking about this for a couple of years, and talking about it in the family, and Jeremy really became my advisor as to the decisions. These are difficult and important decisions, especially when you're deciding to leave something that's been such a strong part of your life and your family life for all these years. And Jared was the guy who was steadfast when there were doubts in my mind. He always, you know, these kids are both lawyers. They're sharp, and they're sharper than their old man. He always brought me back to the right focus. And Jeremy has become a real advisor to his dad. And Michael over there, that kid, he's an incredible kid. He's an incredible kid. Michael has always marched to his own beat, you know, and it's usually been the beat of some bebop Dizzy Gillespie orchestra, his beat. He's an inspiration, Michael. He's a great kid, he's a great person, he's a great lawyer, he's a great musician. He's fierce. He has a tendency to argue a little bit. He's fierce, he's tenacious. God, I love him. I love these two boys. That's all I can say. And the things you did tonight were great, they were funny, but they mean so much to me. I want to just say a couple more words. I mean, I had a lot of things I was going to even, but I won't, it's late. I want to say that Susan neglected to mention the 3 questions that I asked her when she came for her interview. She mentioned 2 of them. The first one was, can you type? She said no. The second was, can you take dictation? She said no. The third question is, can you start on Monday? That's the one she answered correctly. we don't have a business relationship. You know, we have a family relationship. I feel that Susan's part of our family, and I certainly feel that I'm part of Susan's family. But Susan's a lot more than anything that she said in her remarks, because Susan is like my parent, my parent around her. Every decision that we made in camp, you know, we've done a lot of things over these years. We created programs, you know, we created the Al-Ghada program, we created Camp Katan, we created the Mahon program, we built buildings, we started a canoeing program, we did all kinds of things. But every idea that we ever had always was between Susan and myself first. I would think of the ideas. I'm good with ideas. But I would say to Susan, what do you think about this? And then Susan would sit there and think, and then she would respond. Her response was not as an employee of Goldman Union Camp or as the registrar of our camp. Her responses are always as a parent. And when Susan said, well, wait a second, I knew that there was something wrong with the idea. And because of Susan, the ideas that we actually implemented became successful. So she's been a much greater part of this camp than anybody really realizes. And we all know that she's the voice of Goldman Camp. And we all know that when you call the camp, you hear, Goldman Union Camp. This is Susan, can I help you? Susan, you're the best. Thank you so much. Well, Shuka, you upstaged me here. I was going to say a lot of things that I think... No, Shuka and I met 41 years ago on Rehov Ruvain in Baka in Jerusalem. We were students at Machon Chaim Greenberg. The last summer we celebrated our 40th anniversary. And 40 years being the director's wife, being a wife of the camp director is not easy. So we make light of the fact that I was a lot on the road and I was gone. I often kidded that when I was in Israel interviewing Israelis for camp, Shuka was at home fixing the washing machine, taking care of business, you know. And without Shuka, we certainly would not have a camp as we have, and I certainly would not have been able to be the kind of camp director that I am, or that I was. So Shuka, you know, of course, oh, I want to tell you another thing. We're going back to Jerusalem. On June 19th, we're going to take a group of 120 nifty kids to Prague and Poland for a week. We're going to be their chaperone. I'm going to do some rabbi things with them. Then we're going to fly with them to Israel for the first time since 1972. Shuka and I are going to stay in Talpiot, which is the next neighborhood from Baka, our old neighborhood. We're going back to visit those places where we met 41 years ago, and that's one of the things that we're going to do this summer. So, you know, retirement's not so bad. You get a chance to do things like that. Shuka, thank you for everything. I love you too. You're short, but you're great, man. She's so unique, you know. There's only one Shuka. I had the opportunity over these years to work with program directors, assistant directors, unit heads, counselors, mechonikim, specialists. You know, the kids at camp are, I always think that we're like blessed at GUCI, because maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm prejudiced, you know, I'm a Midwesterner, I grew up in Chicago. By the way, who was that guy who spoke before Zoe? The coach. I always felt that, you know, we were blessed that we had the greatest kids at camp. Yeah, you always have some kids with problems, but you know, kids that come to our camp, they come from Kansas City, and from Cleveland, and Cincinnati, and Louisville, and Indianapolis, Lexington, and they're great kids. But the kids sitting back here, you know, these staff members, these are the best kids you could ever want to have taking care of your children. And they're the ones that have, over the years, made all the difference at Goldman Union Camp. You know, a lot of camps have great facilities. We have okay facilities, better than we used to have. But even a camp that has the best facilities, if their staff members don't care about their kids, I mean, what kind of camp is that? And our camp staff members have always been the best. Always caring, always creative, always full of spirit. And I've had the luck to be able to work with those kids. And that's been a great, great blessing to me. How many of you guys are coming back to camp next summer? Stand up, stand up. Well, we applaud you. Before we sing our final song, because I just took the executive privilege of cutting up the lot. I'm getting some stairs here, but I'll tell you just, I'll say one other thing. All of us, many of us met our best friends at camp. Many of my best friends are here in the room. Sanford's here, Lee's here, and Jimbo's not. So Jim Bennett, who was program director for 4 years, as was Sanford, as was Daniel Schwartz. Only a few people have been program director for 4 summers. Jimbo early on, Jim Bennett, Rabbi Jim Bennett, who's in St. Louis, couldn't be here tonight because he's doing a wedding. So, he used to tell this story. This is the dirtiest story I'm going to tell you. It's not very good. He said to me once in the 4th summer that he was program director, he said, you know, it's the same routine. It's all the time, the same routine. I get up and I go to open the dining hall every meal, you know, and they come, they ask me in the morning, you know, is it going to rain? And I say, what am I, a fucking weatherman? It just slipped out. Anyway, he said to me, after 4 years, you know what happens to me? I wake up in the morning, I get up in the morning, I go to the bathroom, I piss, I look down and I say, are there any more? Hold on. This is what happens. So I wanted to say this as the last thing that I say tonight. Are there any more hold-ons? No more hold-ons. Before we say benches up, I want to ask our song leaders to get their guitars and come back up. Lee, where are you? Are you here?
Here. Hey,
Lee.
we're here.
Hi, you want to get a guitar, David?